group 20, and today we are going to be working on the homework problem, homework 4.4. Essentially, this is just a depiction of what it's like. It's essentially a object that is being shot off a cannon, and then that object will go into a parabolic function, or if not projectile motion, or if not also free fall. So as I said, it would look like a parabola. So within this diagram right here, we see different things that we labeled, and then each instance right here is the path that the object would take. Now, with this diagram, we have two different factors that we need to take into consideration. We have to take into consideration the x factor and the y factor. So this would be an example, x and y. So at this point right here, it would be right here. So this would be velocity in the x direction, velocity in the y direction. This right here would be resultant velocity. Now we do know a few things off of prior knowledge. We know that acceleration is negative 9.8, and then in a projectile motion, our velocity in the x direction, our velocity is constant. So for these two questions, I'm just gonna give it to my friend Brian. He'll be able to elaborate more on it.
Alright, so in this question, what we're trying to figure out is if there's any point on this parabolic curve that the velocity and the acceleration are parallel. And as you can see by the direction of the velocity at each point, there's not a place on this curve where the velocity and acceleration are parallel, like going in the same direction, because of the fact that the only acceleration acting on this object is due to gravity, and it's in the negative y direction. So as we follow this curve, you can see the velocity continues in the horizontal direction, or the resulting velocity is always in the x direction, and there's no point where the acceleration is also in the x. So this would be no. And then the second question is if there's any point on the curve where the velocity and acceleration are perpendicular. Well, there is one place, right at the top, where the velocity in the x direction is positive x direction, and the acceleration due to gravity is always in the negative y direction, which causes this one, at this point, the velocity and acceleration to be perpendicular.